Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm gonna be hopping in to the 3-minute pool. It's a little bit late at night. The problem these days, it's summer. I got so much to do with the family. The only time I can make videos is so late at night when I'm a little bit more tired, but hopefully we can still produce something fun and interesting. Maybe one of my favorite gambits. This is the unbeatable URUSOV Gambit. There's nothing quite like it. Go here and lose immediately. Okay, no? All right, we'll go down the standard lines. And this really is a fun one. You get, for one pawn, you're developed, you're ready to start trying to checkmate the opponent. You're able to bring this in right away. Trying to take a quick peek, because there's always this. But we gotta go here. He might have here, but then we're gonna try to bring all of our pieces in. Play for some sort of checkmating attack. Hoping to see him castle. As then the attack begins. You castle. I bring this bishop back to d3 rather than centralizing the rook right away to prevent this as a defensive resource. I threaten to take the knight and deliver the checkmate, so the opponent will inevitably move one of these pawns. And if g6, which we actually had very recently in one of these videos, here you can take. This is also good though, but takes like wins, but then I need to remember what I'm doing, because then it's like here, I don't know. We'll work it out. We'll be able to figure it out. If here I'm going to go back threatening a checkmate. He goes here, keeping that idea alive. So here, bishop takes, boom. I can also take this knight. Does it force him to play like f5? Then I can save my bishop, presumably. I'm not used to this move, so it must be wrong. It took me a second to put it together, and I'm like, hey, wait a minute. This doesn't look right, but that's a 12-move win with the URUSOV Gambit. And this is something you can play. If you play bishop to c4, we'll go ahead and turn the engine on. And this is one of my favorite openings, and there's just so many really cool gambits that you can play. And after knight to f6, you play d4, which computer doesn't like, but it's kind of an interesting thing where what you're basically doing with bishop to c4 is you're trying to play pawn to d4. That's the move I'm trying to play, and I'm doing it tactically because now, if you decide to take, which is the most common way of continuing, you walk into this very interesting line where white gets a ton of compensation for this pawn because the knight has to go back. I did mention that this is some trap that a lot of people fall for. You castle, and then a lot of people are taking this, falling for this little trap. I've had this a whole bunch of times. If the rook comes in, you go here and you take this rook. This is the kind of thing that I've seen a lot. I've probably made some videos on that in the past. But knight to c3, they develop their bishop. I bring my guy out. I'm just ready to get castled. It's a really fun opening. When they attack your queen, you swing over. d6, you castle. When they get castle, rook to h to e1 is the most popularly played move. I'm not sure if that's true in the mega database, but bishop to d3, preventing this defensive resource is very strong. And in a previous game on this channel, I had g6, after which I went here and my opponent missed the threat. So this is another important thing. You're simply threatening to remove this bishop and then remove this guy. So I can't remember what my opponent played. I think it was rook to e8, but this allowed me to take here. He took back with something like a knight or something, and I was able to win material and get a checkmating attack. But this time we saw h6. And I do remember that taking is given as best, but I also have some memory that this leads to another interesting line, because if h takes g5, you can take back, and most people will play g6, but there's a super strong move here. I guess I should have the engine off. The opponent wants to go here and go like this, but you can play here, preventing the king from coming up, and then you're ready to start challenging this knight, and you're trying to checkmate on the h7 square. I mean, there's so many different interesting ideas, but I played the move that just wins immediately, and this is where I think I've seen most people go here. It should be mentioned that if they take this pawn, I'm simply going to be taking back, and this is very, very, very dangerous for the opponents. I think I'm threatening potentially to try to remove this defender. You can also imagine somehow if I can get a rook over, it's going to be winning. If I hit X to show what my main threat is, knight to G5 is strong, this move is strong, knight to D5 with the idea of removing the defender of the H7 square is completely winning for white. So something like this just will simply win, and it's something that will happen quite often. The move that I'm more familiar with is knight to G4. But then I would just play bishop to G5, renewing this threat. And the best that they can do is knight to H6, defending against this. I can't take the knight because there's this pin here. But then you just keep developing things and everything ends up being very strong. Most human opponents are taking this, you take back with your knight, and it's just a very, very strong attack for white. So something like this is pretty incredible. Instead, what happened in the game is my opponent played knight to E5, which, oh no, sorry. He played knight to E4. You're supposed to play knight to E5. This is the computer's top choice. But then I'm just going to go back, and you're able to get rid of this bishop. So the computer comes up with some way of getting rid of this bishop. But even this is going to be very strong for white, so that's good to know for the future. But if your opponent goes here, it did take me a second to find the move, but queen to E4 threatens to go here, and if F5, I can at least toss in one of these checks and then save my bishop. But you know what else also takes 1 second? Hitting that subscribe button, and I hope that you do it and come back for the next video. See you later.